So we're rolling camera, rolling sound.
Oh, so
All right.
much better.
Okay, let's go.
Well, here we are again, and this time we're together.
Together again.
And I got news for you. Together, everyone accomplishes more.
Amen.
But we really do love each other. And you'd think at 94, oh, your romance is gone.
Oh no.
No, it's only getting better. All the time. Right, sweetheart?
Right. And I just was sitting here thinking, how do you explain love? You really don't. You just experience it. Love is something that is not something you can talk as much as do just loving each other and enjoying each other's company, enjoying working together. As I said earlier, that I am so grateful that my husband has allowed me to be a part of his ministry or our ministry, and that together we have authored books, we have spoke, we got to go on a cruise one time and have a marriage seminar, conduct a marriage seminar. It's just been so fun to do things together. And I know it's probably harder for him sometimes to have me along, but it's
a lot more exciting.
A lot more exciting. And yeah, it's just been a joy to be able to work together. And I know each stage of your life is different, as we are now in the retirement age. And
just the twilight years. And
the twilight
soft music and the soft light makes it much more enjoyable.
Yes.
And you know, Leanne said it's nice that I permit her. I don't permit her, I enjoy her. And
thank you, honey.
It's been a real honor on my part for her to travel all over the world and always sit in my class, and I have a lot of the same message all the time, but she's right there, and she can probably teach it or share it even better than I can nowadays, because my forgetter works better than my rememberer, and hers is still pretty good.
It's just fun to be able to make memories together. We have got a whole store of them. We interrupt each other all the time because we keep thinking of different things, and yeah, it's just so good that God has allowed taking ashes and making something as beautiful as He has with our relationship. Because when my husband died, I was only 43, and I felt like my world was over. I had my sons, which I'm so very grateful for, and they really helped me walk through that. But to have a partner, there's just nothing like it.
Yay, God.
So, yay, God.
It breaks my heart for men especially, but some women, but more aptly the man who rules over his wife and is a tyrant. And that is so harmful for the wife, for the children, and he has this very prideful attitude that I'll do all the thinking around here and you do what I tell you, and I'm the king and you're the servants. Just that hard attitude instead of coming in humility. And I've often heard this, and it may sound crazy, but the 3 most desirable traits in a husband is humility, humility, and humility, because it's not good leadership to be a tyrant. It's not good leadership to direct everybody and tell them what to do. That's not good leadership. And I really meant it when I said, together, everyone accomplishes more. And that means a husband and a wife being together, honoring each other's gift, not trying to win an argument, we've pretty much given up winning because it doesn't do any good. You won the argument, but you lost your wife in the process, or you lose your child. Yeah, you won the argument. You out-talked him. You out-powered him. And there's a time, I hope soon in all of your lives, when you realize it's all about relationship. It's relationship with God, and it's relationship with each other, and it's a relationship with the children. And let me just give you one example of a teenager. I was in the garage, and I was working on something, and my son dropped a glass or a jar with a bunch of things in it. And I said, in a kind of an authoritarian way, pick it up. He said, I'm not going to pick it up. I'm tired of you telling me what to do. And I said, pick it up. He said, you don't understand. I'm not going to pick it up. And he said, Dad, I know you. I've lived with you for almost 20 years. I know you're kind. I know you're loving. I know that if you muscle me, you won't hurt me. And if you knock me out, I'll still wake up. And guess what? When I wake up, I'm not going to do it. And that very day, I realized I have to have a son out of relationship, not out of power, because I still was young enough that I could have beaten him up. But that would only hurt our relationship further. So I had to be patient. And that boy went out in left field a bit, but I stayed with him, I loved him, I prayed for him, and he came back actually through Youth with a Mission, and he said, Dad, I don't know how you stood me. I'm so sorry, but I promise you I will never make another major decision without your approval. And he lived it to the day he died at 37. And so I know that's kind of a long story, but it's an important story. There's a point at which your power will no longer cut it. You have to have a relationship. And if you don't have a relationship, you lose your child, you lose your wife, you lose your life. End of report.
I was sitting here thinking, there's a lot of things that break my heart as we travel because we see so much poverty and hurt. And but I was thinking, I'd like to address something that has been a good thing that I feel like a lot of families don't have. And one of the things that's really blessed me, as I said, to be able to be a part of this, and then also that we have had the privilege of having our grandchildren travel with us. And we decided about 20 years ago that the best thing that we could do for our grandchildren was to have them experience a third world country, because all of them are way too privileged. We have way too much stuff. And we just felt like that would be a good thing. So we started taking teams on a mission trip for a couple weeks and taking our grandchildren with us, different ones at different times. And some of them have gone with their parents rather than with us because they do mission trips too. And as long as they've had an experience in a third world country, that's what we felt like we needed to do. And we've had one grandson who said, I just want to go and take, and we were just going to go teaching on our own. So I just want to go carry your luggage and just be with you. And on that trip, Poppy let him teach with him. He was trained as a teacher at that point. No, he was trained in business, and he had worked in a bank, and he decided that what he really wanted to do was teach. So it was really fun to see that develop and watch he and Poppy teach together. So I guess what breaks my heart is that people, as Duane said, humility, humility, humility. And sometimes people get so prideful in what they're doing that they forget that there's other people that would so benefit by you having them, bring them alongside of you, especially your family. But yeah, I just feel like it's important, and I think there'd be a lot less hurt in children's minds about ministry if they were included. Now I know you can't include them all the time, but it just, if they had some part of your ministry, I think that would really be a blessing for your family and blessing for those around you. My oldest grandchild went with his father to India when he was about 13, and he just came back such a changed young man and has remained with the same spirit of honor, and yeah, it just really did help him. So that was our first encouragement to, yeah, let's do that. Let's take all of our grandchildren. I had gone to Mauritania with a bunch of ladies, and when I was there, I found out that if a family had a goat, they were considered wealthy, that was really good for them. Anyway, it was about Christmas time, and we took the grandkids and sat around the table and was talking about what could we do for other people instead of just for ourselves for Christmas. And one of the little guys said, well, Nanny, you told us about the goats. Let's get a goat for each of the children. And so what we did, I had a friend that was there, and so she arranged to buy the goats for these families and took a picture of the goat and the child and then sent me those pictures, and that way then I gave them to each of the kids, or we gave them to the kids, and then they could pray for that child during that year. That was just one thing we did at Christmas. We wanted to try to teach them that it's so much better to give than to receive. That's something that, and also that you never ever outgive God. Those are two things that I feel are so important to get across to the kids. And that was one of the ways that we did that year.
Well, I think, I don't know that it's a ritual, but I have tried to take my skill set and pass it on to my children or grandchildren. And just one example, because I was a college golfer, I knew how to golf better than most. And so I have first worked with my children, and then when Leanne came along and we had her children, I have worked with and enjoyed and helped my grandkids to enjoy golf to the extent that they became college golfers. And it's not just the skill set, but it's being with them, doing something that helps them to feel better about themselves. If I was an artist, I would sit down and help pull out of my daughter. That's what my first wife did. She was an artist, and so my daughter used to sit and paint with her, and she became a pretty good artist. And we have pictures at home of my daughter's paintings and my wife's paintings, but it's taking that skill set, whatever it may be, identifying it, and for example, I thought, oh shoot, I have a doctorate, but it doesn't look like either of my kids are going to go and get an advanced degree. And then here comes my son at 35 saying, Dad, I need to go to Oxford and I have an opportunity to get my doctorate, and it carries so much weight in Asia and I have such a heart for Asians, I'm going to go get it. And so Dr. Rawlins meets Dr. Rawlins. And again, I have observed that football players raise football players, tennis players raise tennis players, golfers raise golfers, artists raise artists. Like father, like son. So be careful, because your children are watching and they want to be like you. And Yeah.
I have another thing that I think is important to me. You know, I lost my husband, and one of the hardest things when he died was to know how to give or how much to give. I mean, we always gave together, but it was like he often helped me decide, you know, what we were going to do or not. And so as my children grew, as my sons grew older, I now have a business, several of them that are doing well. God has really blessed us, and it's hard to know how, because I believe you shouldn't only give, but you should be very careful of how you give, who you give to, and why you give to them. Well, I have decided in the last, I don't know how many years, 10 years, to meet with my sons, and we get together at the end of every year, and I let them help me decide how to, or don't let them, I welcome them to help me decide where to go and where to give and how much to give. And it's been such a joy for me to be able to have them be a part of it, because you know, they run my businesses, a couple of them do, and so it's really a joy for me to have them help me give away. And I feel like it not only helps me, but it helps them understand where my heart is, and when I'm gone, that they will carry on the same giving, the same heart for other people. And I think that's just so important. So yeah.
I would like to thank our supporting people here, and I have no idea how far this is going to go. It might go to 2,000 pastors or leaders in India and Cambodia, or it may just wind up a beautiful memory for my family and Leanne's family. We don't know, but we are very grateful. We're humbled to be able to share our hearts and our leadership that's developed in our lives, and the conflicts that we have had and still have. We're very human, we're very broken, and we know that. And I guess if there's something that I'd like to pass along is, you are broken too. Let's get there and admit it and get on with life, and not try to pretend that you're something you're not. Well, let's talk first about not having enough time.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of baloney. I have to be honest with you. You have the same 24-hour period that every other human being on earth has. So it's really just priority. What is most important? And a really good question to ask yourself and to ask your mate is, what difference is this thing we're talking about going to make in 1,000 years? And most of the time you'll go, it isn't going to make any difference. Well, then why are we doing it, and why are we arguing about it? Why is it so important? Because the older you get, right, sweetheart?
Yeah, that's right.
The more you look to things that have eternal value. And your little children and your adult children and your grandchildren have the greatest value on earth as far as eternity.
I would just like to sum it up with saying, it seems not always, but most times, if we really want something, we find time for it.
Yep.
Amen. It's our heart. It's our, I mean, I know that sometimes life just gets crazy and you don't feel like you have time. Well, then quit something that's making it crazy, and get your priority right. You know, when you have something that you really believe in, and you really want to be a good parent, you really want to spend time with your kids, you'll find that time. It's just the way it is. There's always something you can give up or add to, or what, to make that possible.
Just to add on to that, there are seasons in life.
Yeah.
And when you have 4 children under 10, that's a challenge. But it's not going to last more than 10 years because
It's
they're
soon
going to
gone.
be
Yes.
10-year-olds and 20-year-olds. And so we have to look at life and adapt to life. And men and women have to say, well, we can't do this now, but let's plan when the children grow up to do X or to do Y together. And a lovely book that I've paid a lot of attention to is Love Does. Love is an action word. Love is not just a feeling, a mushiness, oh, I'll just give you a hug. No, love looks for random acts of kindness.
Yeah, I would like to address the other question you asked about discipline. Anybody that knows me, I'm kind of a pushover, so I'm not a very good disciplinarian. But I felt like that I really needed to, at least in front of the boys, I really need to agree. I think it's so important with discipline. Our kids need discipline. And my boys have grown up to be better children because of the discipline in their lives. I remember our boys saying, why do we have to work so hard? Our friends don't have to, and we always said, oh, makes better kids. and work is important, you know, and discipline, setting boundaries. Kids that don't have boundaries, kids that their parents don't care when they get in, they don't care what they do, they become they feel very unloved because they need boundaries. Now, on the other side of that, you need to be careful and not be too strict that they have no freedom. So it's sort of a happy medium somewhere there of setting boundaries, but yet not so strict that there's no wiggle room at all. I know often my dad would say to me, there's just some things that were gray, whether they weren't right or wrong, but he'd say, well, go ahead and do it, but you know how I feel about it. Well, when you love your dad, you don't want to do those things. You're not happy doing them. And I feel like that's how it is with God, is that he says sometimes, go ahead, but you know how I feel about it. And so I feel like discipline is something that is so important in kids' lives. They need boundaries. They need to learn what is right and what is wrong. Do you have any more to add to that?
Well, I just think as Christians, we need to emphasize the positiveness, the strength, the strong in our children, and not go overboard in negativity.
I agree.
It just, if we could believe in our own hearts that everything God says is good for us to do. And when he says don't do this, it's not because he's an ogre, it's because it's harmful. Harmful to you, it's harmful for your relationship, it's harmful for your relationship with the children. So if we do things God's way, the way Jesus taught, not the way man and culture and all of these things throw in, then life is good, life is beautiful, life is fun, life is creative.
But it's not always without discipline. Sometimes discipline is hard, but it's very important.
Right. And thank you so much for listening to us blabber on.
And as Duane said, we all are broken, we all have our problems, and we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And I just would encourage you to hang in there and let God make you a wow mom and a rad dad.